Big Street Cinema, what is your opinion on the spec wars on subs? So many people are about how low and how loud you can play, nothing about how good it sounds, how to integrate to the system or dynamics of the subs. What are your thoughts on
Spec
that?
wars. I don't know that there's a spec war. I think it's just a ever increasing want for perfection, right? You're getting bigger and bigger subs that are less and less distorted, that have more and more output, which is what we really want in any of our rooms, because with that output comes with it less distortion, and you get a flatter frequency response, at least in my eyes.
So it's not necessarily about trying to hit 150 dB in your room.
I'd rip my room apart if I
Yeah.
did that. But the other thing to consider too is that 150 dB, you don't necessarily, 150 is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
Right.
let's say it's 110, 112. If I'm going for reference and that's what I want to feel at my seat, I have to be 120, 125 at the woofer in order for that to make it to my seat.
That makes sense.
Making that up. But you have to have, because it's going to fall off as it moves and as it gets to your main listening position. So you do need a tremendous amount of output depending on what volumes you're trying to get to. And there's not really very many subs that can do anywhere near that until you start getting into the upper echelons. So I think it's more about subs finally getting to the point where they're able to keep up with the volumes that they need to, I guess. Anybody have anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm curious where Big Street Cinema is hanging out, that he's only hearing about like loud and low versus quality, because it seems like a lot of the forums that are on AVS where people are trying to, they're trying to incorporate, I'm saying the wrong word, but incorporate all of these aspects. Like they want sound quality too. You know, they don't. We're not trying to do burp tests in home theater. Most of us aren't. There's a few. But most of us aren't. We're looking for quality. So, you know, give us some specifics of Big Street Cinema. Maybe we can speak to it. As far as how low and low is important for home theater. That's probably why you're reading that if you are, because people can hear down to 15 or 20 hertz in a lot of occasions. I mean, I've done tone tests with a lot of people on my guests, and great many people can hear down to 15, 16, 18 hertz. Why would you not want to be able to reproduce at least as far as you can hear? And below that, you can feel. So even if you can't hear it, you can feel it. So there's still value to creating that to a degree. You know, IMAX, they're going to hit like 30 hertz. You're not going to get much less than that at a commercial cinema. But home theater, it's a whole octave less. If you go to 15 hertz, that's like an octave is 8 notes on the piano. You know, from middle C to middle C is an octave. So you're missing, if you're at 30 hertz tuned, to get down to 15 hertz, you're missing 8 notes. That's audible notes plus the minor keys in there. So,
and the reality is these mixers are adding that content into the movies because they want you to experience that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, prime example, I always go back to Ready Player One. If I'm in a home theater tour, just about inevitably somebody's going to play, you know, that during that demo time. And so I always listen, you know, can they handle, you know, is there that really, really deep notes when Kong lands on the freeway and when the dinosaur stomps? And some of the, I don't want to say lower end, but I guess in a way they'll handle it fine. I mean, it's not like they're distorting or bottoming out, but it just like there's something missing because their subwoofers are rolling off at 20 hertz, you know? So there's a lot of content in that scene that they're not experiencing. And then when I come to mine, I'm like, now I like that, you know, 'cause when he stomps, man, it's deep and it's thick.
It feels more well-rounded. It feels fuller in my eyes.
Yeah. So I think there's value. But yeah, I don't think it's all about just trying to get low and loud. And some people, they just want, you know, fidelity for whatever that is. And there's certain brands that they kind of pride themselves, like we provide fidelity, but the reality is they're not really that great for home theater. I've experienced some of them and just wasn't that impressed. And again, I won't name names, but I like something that can dig deep, handle, you know, whatever you feed at it. I love the fact that no matter what movie I'm watching in my theater room, I'm not stressed out about it. I'm not worried about blowing them up. I'm not worried about them bottoming out. I've had subwoofers that bottomed out, and it's like you got to be real careful on the volume because you crank it too loud and get a little too happy, and
Day of tomorrow will ruin you.
that joker is going to sound. And even without that, I mean, it's just going to sound horrendous, you know. So definitely, man, I'm all about get the best subs that you can get, whatever that be.